This is just unexplainable now.
This to the point now where you like, hey man, all right, y'all gotta stop, man. It's too out. Yeah, this is
It's so funny. It's funny when he's lost for words because
I know what's going on.
but it's funny because he never comes to a conclusion. No, he never does.
No,
He's gonna be the last one to ever say
I
that.
like to have hope, and I trust God. Dang, God ain't got this
ain't God.
This
the devil.
For Shedeur not to go 1 or 2, 3 or 4, but in the 5th round, not crazy about beliefs in conspiracies and all of that, started saying, whoa, does it look like somebody told them they have to get in there and draft Shedeur?
With the 144th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado.
Listen to the reaction.
The reaction in the draft hall says it all. The moment that
when I put what I saw in Cleveland and everybody positioned themselves, I'm like, man, this thing here has reached peak high over the last few days. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we gotta draft this kid.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times Challenge.
And so here we go again, back with another one. And we're now a couple of days removed from the aftermath of the NFL draft, in which people are still confused about Shedeur Sanders and where he ended up in the draft. And there's a lot of different opinions and conspiracies as to why that is.
This was clearly an owner pick. Because in what world?
Okay, so
look at the reaction.
I was going to ask
you. Look at the reaction on Twitter. You know, they got posted in the draft room. Stefanski looked like he wanted to jump off a bridge. They're no dummies. They've been around Jimmy long enough. They realize that, like, as Shedeur falls, he's going to force them to take Shedeur Sanders. So they go, listen, we'd love to take this guy in the 4th or 5th. Let's take him now, so it kind of shuts him up. But then Shedeur just kept plummeting, and they didn't have a choice once they got to the 5th round when he's like, you got to do it. So my theory is they overdrafted him to shut up the owner, and because any visual you saw of Stefanski and Barry, he's right over their backs, right? You see most rooms, the owner's next to him or in the corner, just like hanging out. He's right behind him, kind of hovering. I mean, that's a bizarre place, Colin. It really is.
And so for me, and like a lot of other people, it wasn't just that Shedeur got picked in the 5th round, when he obviously was a 1st round talent, or at the very least a 2nd round talent. You know, even if Shedeur would have fell to the 6th round and he would have wound up going to a team like Kansas City, that would have made more sense. Play behind Patrick Mahomes, sit behind Patrick Mahomes, learn how to be a professional, perhaps get traded down the line to a team that needs a quarterback. That would have made a lot more sense. But for him to wind up in Cleveland, especially after Cleveland already picked a quarterback that wasn't even projected to be a top 3 quarterback, a lot of people had him rated probably as a 6th round pick. And then for Cleveland to trade up and take Shedeur with a 5th round pick didn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think it's just a weird, it feels like it's got Jimmy Haslam written all over it. And you see the look on Stefanski's face, like, guys, get me out of here. This is crazy. Because how could you go from Deshaun Watson to then taking a quarterback in the 3rd round to then taking him in the 5th with everything that comes along with it? It doesn't make that much sense. Also from I don't know. I think it's just a clunky, weird spot. It's not out of Shedeur's control, but it didn't make sense. No one takes a quarterback in the 3rd and the 5th. It never happens. It's a numbers game. You can't practice.
When I put what I saw in Cleveland and everybody positioned themselves, I'm like, man, this thing here has reached peak high over the last few days. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid, or something has to happen, or we got to lift whatever dark spot we put on him, or something has to happen. Because Cleveland drafted him. And they're right. Something now has to happen. If you give him a chance to get on the field and he has all of this in him, what he just went through, Now you got to if he gets just an opportunity. You see, going this late means you get so many few reps, and you got a quarterback drafted in front of you. That means you're going to get less reps than him.
Ain't nobody gonna say nothing.
You can't explain that, dog. You can't.
That's the third just don't deserve it.
Nah, man. Nah. No go ahead and 100%. Let's go. Come on, nigga. Okay, give us
That's funny.
Okay, God. Come on. We good. Enough is enough. Okay, now. Lord, put me on the cross. Take him home. Please, I got it. Lord, put me on the cross. Please take my kids off. I got this. I will take it for them. Please, in Jesus' name. I'm dead serious.
And so I think a lot of this has to do with Shedeur Sanders and possibly some of the things that were said about him during the draft process and the interview process, possibly not wanting to interview with certain teams or not taking it seriously. I think that played a part for sure, no doubt. But then the other part of this, of course, I think is Deion Sanders and teams not wanting to have to deal with him if Shedeur indeed didn't turn out who we think Shedeur is. Because not all quarterbacks that are great in college translate to being great in the NFL. That's a fact, no doubt. And so I felt like NFL teams did collude. They did get together behind the scenes to make sure that Shedeur Sanders wasn't going to be given anything. Because if Shedeur Sanders would have went in the first round, we're guaranteed at least 3 to 4 years of Shedeur Sanders. Whether he's good or not, you're going to get Shedeur Sanders, and if you get Shedeur Sanders, that means you're going to get Deion Sanders. That's not me saying this, that's what NFL teams are saying behind the scenes. And so the only way to circumvent that is to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round and make sure that he has to work for every little bit that he gets.
First of all, congratulations, you just got drafted in the National Football League. That's a special moment, so enjoy that. I know you're frustrated that you fell this far. The next thing I would say is, I know you're a competitor. You know you're a competitor. Well, this is the biggest competition of your life, because when you were in high school, you were the quarterback. When you were in college at both stops, you were the quarterback. There was no competition. You listed off all these names. You have to fight, first of all, compete to win a job on this team. You've got to get a spot. Then after you do that, now you've got to compete to try and move your way up that depth chart. For some of the criticism of Shedeur, and some of it is, well, everything's been handed to him and it's been kind of controlled and the path has been laid out by Deion. He's coming into one of the most crowded quarterback rooms in the NFL as a 5th round pick. He is going to have to earn everything. So that competitive nature, your dad's one of the most competitive people that's ever walked this earth. We're getting ready to find out how competitive Shedeur Sanders is. He's going to have to earn everything.
And so it's looking like the NFL and a lot of other people around the NFL had their sights set on making sure that Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders knew exactly what time it was. They don't care how many accolades you have. They don't care how accurate you are. They don't care how many yards you accumulated. What it comes down to is that we control the narrative. We can say you're too cocky, you're too brash, you didn't interview well. When we've seen this before, we've seen this exact same deal play out with Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel did the money sign. Shedeur had the watch. Johnny Manziel was cocky. He was arrogant. He was brash. The same thing they said about Shedeur. The only difference is all those traits were endeared by the media and they were endeared by the NFL. That's why Johnny Manziel went in the first round. Johnny Manziel didn't have elite speed. Johnny Manziel didn't have the strongest arm. A lot of people say he was just throwing the ball up to Mike Evans when he was at Texas A&M. And so a lot of people think that the NFL just had to put the Sanders family in their proverbial place. But with all that said, I still think that Shedeur Sanders is going to have an opportunity to prove everybody wrong, even though he's not going to be put in an ideal situation, not by a long shot, probably one of the worst circumstances that you can find yourself as a 5th round pick sitting behind 4 of the quarterbacks. But I think he has a chance. I think he can win the locker room, and I think he's probably the most accurate quarterback on that team right now. And that can go a long way. All he needs is a chance. All he needs is a shot. But that's my take on it anyways. Make sure you guys go ahead and keep the comments coming in the comment section. And as usual, peace and chaos.